Hello, my beautiful stars. Today, on November 11th, 2025, Jupiter is stationing retrograde, just on the heels of the Mercury retrograde that initiated just 2 days ago on November 9th, 2025. And Jupiter will remain retrograde through March 10th, 2026. And it's really very, very interesting that this immediate sequence of Mercury, then followed by Jupiter retrograde, are occurring due to what I see in the Jupiter retrograde chart. And we'll dive into what that means throughout this astrological analysis. Now, before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that my approach to astrology is sidereal, meaning that I use the actual placements of the constellations and stars to interpret the story. So if you hear me refer to another sign that you were not expecting to hear, that is why. And that is why many will be interpreting this Jupiter retrograde in the context of Cancer and associating it to themes such as family and home and nurturing. But when you approach it through the lens of sidereal astrology, you'll notice that Jupiter is stationing direct at the western degrees of 25 to 26 Cancer, but that's actually where the constellation of Gemini has just barely ended. So, according to the sidereal constellation placements, Jupiter has only barely barely exited the outskirts of Gemini, and during its retrograde phase up through March 10th, 2026, it will be aligned with Gemini the entire time. So Gemini themes will, in reality, be what flavor this retrograde of planet Jupiter. And believe me, reality and surreality are what we should all be keeping an eye on here. Because Jupiter in Gemini, to me, suggests artificial intelligence, AI, big data. And yes, Jupiter does everything big. Its motto should be go big or go home. It is a gas giant after all. But here's a fun fact. Did you know that the size of Jupiter decreases about 1 millimeter per year? This is because Jupiter is radiating more heat than it receives. But that's not to say that Jupiter is just shrinking into thin air. Because when its size decreases, guess what increases? Jupiter's mass. And I really love that analogy when you think about it in the context of AI, because there is no doubt that AI and information technology in general are increasing and expanding. But as the physics of Jupiter demonstrates to us, while something is increasing, something else could very well be decreasing in tandem. So with Jupiter retrograding through Gemini, I think it will be presenting reviews and retrospective analyses of how AI can be used and who can use it and what it can be used for. In mythology, Jupiter is known as a judge after all, and thus very much associated with the law. In addition to this, Jupiter is also very philosophical, and as a result, will have us all pondering and assessing our realities and existentiality, and how Gemini themed topics such as communications and commerce and artificial intelligence are influencing our realities and her Jovian philosophies in life. Jupiter here is asking you to question, to explore the ethical implications, and to seek mercurial knowledge to gain Jovian wisdom, and to be profound. Now, we also need to keep in mind that the Jupiter retrograde chart features a tight trine to Saturn at the western degrees of 25 to 26 Pisces, which just also happens to be the same constellation. So Saturn in Pisces is lending its influence, and with the trine aspect to Jupiter, it's making me feel that there are some big Pisces dreams here. And Jupiter in Gemini just wants to borrow and funnel all that creative Pisces energy through the trine pipeline and just go forth and make big fantasies come true and to indulge in the surreal illusion. But with Saturn involved, I feel Saturn will be reining that in just a bit, because that is what Saturn does. But sometimes that can be a good thing, so that other planets don't go off the deep end and get carried away with themselves. So within the next 4 months, during the most intense portion of the retrograde, remember to observe how this energy is manifesting in your life. And I'll review some key dates for this Jupiter retrograde phase to help you ponder that. So on August 17th, 2025, Jupiter entered the pre-shadow phase. And as you know, on November 11th, 2025, Jupiter stations retrograde at 25 to 26 degrees of Western Cancer. Then, on March 10th, 2026, Jupiter stations direct at 15 to 16 degrees of Cancer in the Western chart. But Jupiter does not exit the post-shadow phase until June 6, 2026, when it again reaches 25, 26 degrees of Western Cancer. So, were there any philosophies that you began considering or reconsidering on or around mid-August 2025? If so, I would love to hear about it and your journey over the course of the next 4 to 6 months with this Jupiter retrograde in motion. And just a reminder, if you all enjoyed this astrological analysis, then please like and subscribe so you can stay in the loop and connect our communities. And I want to remind you all to be like Jupiter and stay jovial and increase that Jupiter mass of philosophical benevolence within yourselves. This is Brave Astrology, where fortune favors the bold.